Our dough has rested overnight in the refrigerator, and now I'm going to demonstrate how to actually assemble the sticky buns, and then we'll proof them and then bake them. So we're going to make a topping, and the recipes are all at www.abakerspassion.com. And I've made the topping, I've made the filling, I've plumped raisins to go on the inside of the sticky buns. What I've done, I'm making 4 batches today because I've got to bring them with me tomorrow to St. Mark's. But it's real easy. We just roll the dough into a rectangle, cover it in some very soft butter, sprinkle on the inner filling, which is a mixture of white sugar, cinnamon, and brown sugar. And then we put some nuts and raisins on the inside, and we roll the roll up and cut it into 16 pieces. Then we allow it to proof. The thing you have to remember though is we want the gooey, wonderful, rich topping on it. So what I do is I butter the dish. I use a Pyrex dish, butter it, line it with the topping, sprinkle some of the nuts in there. Okay? So why don't we get going, and you'll hopefully enjoy what we're about to do. The baking dish has been buttered lightly, and it now has the filling. Now I'm going to place the nuts into it. Now I'm going to roll the dough into a rectangle about 16 inches by 9 inches. My surface is very lightly dusted with flour. The dough might fight you a little bit. If it does, it's good to let it relax and rest for 5 minutes. It'll be fine. Our dough is now the right size, and don't be too concerned about the exact measurement. The idea is to get the dough nice and thin. Okay, now I'm going to spread the softened butter over the surface. We'll sprinkle it with the mixture for the filling. Then we'll place the raisins and pecans on it. Then I like to take a sheet of wax paper, put it over it, and actually use the rolling pin just to roll all of the filling into the dough, and then we'll form it into a roll. I rolled the dough into a 10 actually by 16-inch rectangle. Now I'm going to spread the butter. I just use a spatula. It's very soft. I soften it in the microwave and just get it spread evenly over the surface, but leave a little bit of the lip here on the edge that's away from you, so that when we roll the dough up, we'll be able to pinch and seal the seam. There we go. placing the sugar mixture for the filling on the dough. And we're going to cover it with the raisins and the pecans. If you don't want to plump the raisins in the rum, as I suggest in the recipe, you can just use some water, but they do need to get plumped, so make sure you do that. Okay, we're ready to roll the dough. First, take a piece of wax paper and just press all of those filling ingredients into the dough. Now, just take the wax paper off and we can start rolling the dough. I like to make it as tight as I possibly can. I just use my fingers to do that. As you can see, I'm just rolling pretty quickly and just pressing as I go up the length of the dough. Actually, up the width of the dough. Okay, now we're there, so let's clean the surface of our table. And I have the seam facing me. Now I'm pinching the seam, just pinching it onto itself. And now we're ready to cut. Okay, so here's how I get the dough ready to go into the prepared baking dish. I use this cutter to cut the dough in half. Then I go in half again using my hands. Right about there. Then each of these pieces will be made into 4 cinnamon sticky buns. There's a little bit of extra raisin and things, you just throw it into one of the buns. Now all we have to do is arrange the sticky buns in the prepared dish. there we go. Now, I'm going to cover these and allow them to grow until they're about double in size. As you can see, the sticky buns, the cinnamon buns, the Philadelphia buns, whatever you want to call them, they have been fermenting, allowing the yeast to grow and do its thing for about 2 hours, and now they're ready to go into a 350 degree preheated oven and test them with a skewer to make sure, test them somewhere in this area with the skewer, make sure the dough is completely baked. I've just taken the pastries out of the oven, and it's very, very hot, but the thing we have to do is get the pan inverted. So what I do is I place a piece of parchment, take a pan that's not hot, and then invert the whole thing very quickly. Then we lift the hot pan, and what you want to do is just make sure that the sticky buns are not sticking. So just loosen the glass and let them rest for about an hour with the baking dish on top. Now I'm going to remove the baking dish. Just carefully lift it. It's still somewhat warm, so be careful. And there we have our beautiful Philadelphia sticky buns. Well, I hope this has been useful to you, seeing how you make the sweet yeast dough and then seeing how we form and bake the actual sticky buns. So for Baker's Passion, Ray Madursky saying thank you, and try this recipe, it really is great. And now of course I get to taste the labors of 2 days work, and let's see how we did here. Oh wow, so delicious. The dough is light and buttery. The filling is just the right amount, sweetness and cinnamon in it. And the topping is like magic. It's really wonderful. So please try this recipe. For the full recipe, go to www.abakerspassion.com. Have fun and enjoy your baking.